I think a lot of it, Trent, revolves around mindset.
Yep.
And it was reinforced at Ranger School. It started back in West Point and goes all the way back to the way my parents raised me. Failure is not an option.
Hi, welcome to the Winners Find a Way show and podcast with your host, Trent M Clark, three-time World Series coach, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur, having started 12 companies, coach to the 1%, and an international speaker. This show is going to be your go-to podcast for facing adversity, being inspired, and overcoming obstacles, all from the best in the world, business, sports, and leadership. Hate the crappy ingredients in many beverages and energy drinks? Rebellious Infusions are the go-to functional beverage. They have 5 or fewer plant-based organic ingredients, no sugar, no calories, loaded with antioxidants to boost your immune system, and L-theanine for brain health. Rebellious Infusions are available at drinkrebellious.com. Rethink your drink. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999.
I believe it's something that we've talked and it's been woven through, and it was that quote around success is limited only by one's will to succeed. Mm-hmm. I've got this insatiable desire to know that I'm making a difference. I've got this insatiable drive to go ahead and compete and win. And it's done in a team environment, back to that Ranger buddy concept. But I think that's one of the things that Ranger School taught me, that if you are willing to put in the work, if you are willing to put in the effort and make the commitment, things are going to happen. And it's not easy, but just like the shirt and Beat Navy doesn't appear unless you get in a strong, hard workout. I mean, that's just one of those fundamental things in life. And I mean, we talked about Roger Staubach's story and what he did behind the scenes. Most people, unlike you, Trent, who are entrepreneurs, I mean, they don't know what happens early in the morning, late at night when everyone else is sleeping, and we're at the grindstone trying to make it happen.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that people, and I'm actually upset by it often when our media goes, hey, be an entrepreneur, like start your own business. I'm like going, man, when that Saturday 4 a.m. calls come, you are the final buck. Like it will stop with you, right? And you will be out of bed, making a repair, making your client happy, getting on a plane, whatever it takes. And I think like right now, the media is glossing over that. They're just glossing over the work, the effort, the determination, the discipline that it's going to take to stay with this thing. And the statistics don't lie, right? How many companies do fail in the first 5 years? It is a tough road.
It is. And Trent, that's why I'm so excited, because come July 14th, we as a business will officially celebrate 5 years.
Okay, that's awesome. July 14th. Big celebration day. By the way, putting people in rare air, and people do not know the statistic on this, but it is less than 15% of the businesses make 5 years. And here's another statistic that most people don't know. Most people don't know that about 3.5% of all companies in America make $1 million of more in sales.
Well, we are beating both of those statistics, Trent, and that's one proud thing for me, because when I left the Army, I couldn't even spell entrepreneur.
Right.
Thank goodness for spell check, because I didn't even know how to spell. But one thing I love now is when you and I talked the very first time, when I talk to any entrepreneur and I just hear their passion and hear their just enthusiasm for what they're pursuing, I get energy, and I just love that. And I couldn't imagine life doing anything different, and nothing's been harder than what I've endured the last 5 years, but it is so incredibly rewarding to know where you start. And for us, it was a blank sheet of paper to know where we're at right now. And the next 5 years are going to be equally challenging, because half of our existence as a business has been under COVID, but it's so rewarding that I just love being an entrepreneur, and I'm energized when I hear entrepreneur stories.
Yeah. Love it. What's the one value, belief, action that you took, that you got a lot in those 72 days? What's one belief or value or an action that you finally let settle in to get you through those dark days? I mean, you had your buddy, but internally, what was the one thing that you think if someone's in this mix right now and they need a little pick-me-up, there is something to grab hold of? What do you think that would be?
I think a lot of it, Trent, revolves around mindset.
Yep.
And it was reinforced at Ranger School. It started back in West Point and goes all the way back to the way my parents raised me. Failure is not an option. I mean, if you're a Ranger and you're behind enemy lines and that's what you're trained to do and be in those situations, I mean, you are there on the front lines behind enemy lines defending your country, and failure is not an option. Yeah. I mean, the American public is defending on you, and that's a mindset I have right now, because we're a premium apparel brand. Apparel is one of the most competitive industries out there.
Yes.
But failure is not an option. And I'm not doing this alone. Back to the whole Ranger buddy. I mean, I have an incredible team, an incredible group here that equally embraces our passion and our vision to build this iconic American brand. So I think one, it's that failure is not an option, but two, find that Ranger buddy, find that team and do it together, because there's such power in a team, and it's not just 1 + 1 = 2. I mean, you get that flying effect. That's incredible.
No doubt. That's awesome. When I'm reminded of that mindset in the games, like, hey, there's a lot of times where we didn't really fail and we didn't win, but we just ran out of time. Like, there's a lot of basketball games like, hey, the game ended and we're on our way to come back, but what? We'll have to take it into the next game, because on this one, we were going to come back, but we ran out of time. Like, failure is not an option. We're going to get back at it and figure it out. And that mindset, I think, is so powerful. And I think you're interweaving a lot of things there with commitment, focus, mindset, the drive, and you kind of knowing where you want to go and setting that vision out for you and your team around you seems really important.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, Trent. I'll share one more example that combines a lot of different things, because one of the things we've been blessed with as a business is just incredible national TV exposure.
Yeah.
And over the last 3 years, we've been on national TV 17 times. And the very first time was on Fox and Friends.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got a call from the producer of Fox and Friends and they invited me to be a guest, and I learned that 2 million people were watching, I was petrified, Trent. I'm like, I've never been on national TV before. What if I screw this up?
Yeah.
I mean, that'll be it. I mean, people will never want our brand. I'll be a failure. And that first appearance didn't go off perfect, but I got a lot of positive feedback and said, Dean, you were such a natural. I mean, you were just born to be on TV. And I said, you have no idea the amount of preparation. They're like, well, what'd you spend, about 10 hours? I'm like, easily 100 hours investing and preparing, because when you've got an opportunity to be on national TV in front of 2 million people, back to failure is not an option. So I'm not a natural. I don't have that God-given ability to be on TV, but that practice and that preparation, just go ahead and making sure that here's an opportunity that we rightfully don't deserve as a 1-year-old business to be on national TV, but we want to make the most of it.
Well, I think two things are really powerful there, Dean. One is preparation, right? Like, we just can't say enough. I'm a huge Coach Wooden fan, right? And I love the 5 Ps, right? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And man, when you think about how many people complain and go, man, like, there's an excuse. I had this chance and they didn't like the way I dressed, or they didn't like this, or they didn't like that. If I really looked back and I said, well, Trent, they didn't like your dress because you didn't spend the time preparing what they wanted to see. It would have been accordingly. And I don't think we're very good at owning this was a big opportunity and I didn't get ready for it. And I think that's really critical to someone's success. What's your thought on that?
I absolutely agree. And there is so much information available, and people don't think is the preparation is not narrowly focused. And to share more on that first national media TV appearance on Fox and Friends, it wasn't just, okay, what is my brand all about? What's my story? It was understanding each and one of the hosts that were there. What's their background and what's their story? So if there's something that comes up, we can make that personal connection. It's understanding who the demographics are and who the audience is to make sure that the message that I'm sharing, resonates with that. And that's one of the things that you and I talked about. Who is the audience for your show? I mean, it's business owners, it's athletes. So making sure that what I'm tailoring was focused to that. And it was the same way with that national TV appearance. I mean, it was broad on preparation to make sure that we're ready.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things in our country, our company in Leadershipity, we just preach this prep work, especially on people, right? Knowing like, hey, I'm going to go into a meeting with somebody and I should know something about them, right? And one of the critical things, especially like in sales, I see, and customer service, is we don't know personality styles, which are very easy, like in a DISC personality style. Like, hey, if I know a little bit about them, I can pretty quickly ask a few impactful questions that will create, like, how do they operate inside their business, right? And there are so many different things you can learn from that. What's their background? Where did they go to school? Where did they live? What's their family life like? All these chances to get in and connect. And people don't do their homework. I see it all the time.
And those personal relationships are so powerful. And some people have that ability just instantly to perform that chemistry. But to your point, Trey, to reinforce that, if you do your homework and understand more about their family, you understand more about their career and their history, you understand more about their hobbies and their interests, you're going to find something that really hits a spark with them, and it's going to, trigger that emotional connection that will go ahead and just foster a great relationship.
That's awesome. Let's talk 2 questions. The best and worst part of your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, the best part, Trent, is tied to my insatiable desire to know that I'm making a difference.
Yep.
And most people don't know the tragic history of the apparel industry. When I graduated from West Point in 1993, to give you how rare American made is, 50% of the apparel in the U.S. was made in the U.S. Today, it's less than 3. I mean, so little is made here. And Trent, what the tag says on your shirt, it says made in USA. That's what mine wears. I wear Authentically American or nothing at all. But most people don't realize that. So just one national TV appearance, just 1 year of delivering $1 million or more in revenue, is an opportunity to make a difference. But now we're going on 5 years, and I truly believe we have an opportunity to deliver on our vision to build this iconic American brand with the same recognition of a Nike or Polo or Under Armour, but have it all made here, tied to our passion for creating American jobs. To me, that is incredibly rewarding. It's so exhausting starting from where we did, but it is so rewarding and so energizing.
Awesome.
Now, that's the great part. On the flip part, I had stress in the days working for Procter & Gamble, working for Mars, but the stress of, are we going to meet payroll on Friday? Are we going to go ahead and survive? And what has exacerbated those challenges, Trent, over the last 5 years, nearly 50% of our existence as a business has been under COVID. And if you're a technology company, to work virtual, to work remote, you can do it. It's technology, it's enabled, but you're wearing a product that we made in a factory in Texas. You don't operate a factory remote. You don't operate a factory virtually. So we have 11 factories across the U.S. Our T-shirts are made in Texas. We have amazing socks that I know you have a pair as well that are made in North Carolina. The polo and quarter zip I'm wearing, we make in California. So those are operated in person. And it just reinforced my belief in the American worker, because over the last 2 years, the American worker has stepped up in a big way and produced amazing product like what you're wearing. But the stress, Trent, of making sure, okay, I have a team and we got to make sure we meet payroll, and we've just got to find a way to make it work, because failure is not an option.
Yeah. I think one of the other things, and I'd love to just talk about this because it's important, because as an American, I recognize that we have been a melting pot for a long time. And having traveled as much as I do internationally, I have a great appreciation for coming home, right? And I've also listened to so many people out there, who are really willing to go to a very crazy length of level to get an opportunity of what America offers, because their country, their standard does not offer it. And extreme. And when you hear people talk about, they'll give up their firstborn, that's not a joke. This is like actually people in environments that understand that I will always be held down in this environment. And there is a land of opportunity that exists. One of the things that I love is our immigration system. There's been a ton of legal immigration that serves the mercantile market. They serve into this market and came here. And this is the opportunity they've been looking for. They advance with brands like yours. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Brent, let me tie in a personal part of our story, because there's so much talk about our country right now and our flaws, and I am absolutely 100% convinced, in spite of our flaws, we absolutely live in the greatest nation in the world. And I can speak from personal experience, because I mentioned our youngest son we adopted from Ethiopia. So I went to Ethiopia twice. The second time was with my then 12-year-old daughter, who was our oldest daughter. And people don't realize the extreme poverty and how fortunate we are. Even if you are, relatively speaking, at the lower end of the economic spectrum in our country, we are so blessed. We don't have an immigration problem. People aren't leaving this country. We have an immigration problem because we live truly in the greatest nation in the world. And I am so thankful for that. And that's part of our brand, being a brand that celebrates patriotism, being a brand that believes in the American worker, because just fundamentally, we live in an amazing country.
Love it. That's awesome. All right, let's talk about, you've had a lot of successes. I mean, you've won a lot. What is the best battle that you've ever conquered?
The best battle, Trent, that I've ever conquered, I'm living it right now. I would put you in that serial entrepreneur camp. Yeah. I mean, you have been involved with multiple businesses, and if things go as planned, this will be a wonder because of all the work, but this will be my swan song. This will be the one entrepreneurial journey. And this is truly an opportunity to make a difference, create made American jobs, and really leave a legacy by building this iconic American brand. And over the last 5 years, Trent, I can't tell you how many times I thought we were going out of business.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to have to file for bankruptcy because we're living in COVID. We were having shutdowns in our factories. Customers stopped ordering, but each and every time our customers, my team, our investors stepped up, and we found a way to survive. And I'm in the battles right now. I'm in the trenches, to use an old military analogy. I mean, we're in the trenches fighting it out right now. So I'm in the greatest battle of my life, but I love it when you share feedback like you did, like Dean, I just love your product. And that word is spreading and more people, but we're still in the trenches right now. And I'm in the battle of my life right now.
We're gonna get the word out on Authentically American, man. If it's not out there yet, which obviously it can always be bigger, right? We got to get it out there for sure, Dean. All right, so let me ask you one thing, because you've been around so many influential leaders. You've had so much exposure to leadership development between West Point and Ranger School, which is massive. I mean, by the way, 2 near gold standards of leadership development here in our country. Like, I mean, you could talk about it. To go through 1 is like already putting you in the 1%. To go through 2, I can't imagine how rare that is. All right. So what is, after having that experience, most people do not fathom what that takes, right? But you get some insights about people as you drive in and as you lead other people. When other people look at themselves in the mirror, I think they miss things. What is one thing that you see in people that you don't think they see themselves when they look back at them?
I think that's a hard one, Trent, but I think what I see in people is that opportunity. And I have invested in relationships. I've invested in community, and my team right now, I think back to that Ranger buddy analogy where when you're down, we pick each other up. And for the last 5 years, I articulated how challenging it's been, but we've uplifted each other. We've encouraged each other. Sometimes we've yelled at each other because it's been challenging, and there have been moments and discussions on how we go forward. But I see just an incredible opportunity, and we're passionate. I wish, Trent, that it wasn't just me on this call, that could have some of my team here, because what you would see is that opportunity and that passion coming through. And that's just one of those fundamental things that I believe in life. Find what you love, find what you're passionate about, because then it doesn't feel like work. I mean, you are pursuing life's passion.
I do. So first of all, thank you, Dean, so much for being on the show. This is just awesome episode. I enjoyed learning about a lot of things. I love the quote, success is limited only by one's willingness to succeed. That's kind of back to that will, back to that commitment. Mm-hmm. I love the leadership school, man, of Ranger School. Like, and that is that only the few, the proud. I mean, this is really tough. Like when you talk about only 20% being able to make it through, it's rare air, right? And by the way, it's already tough to get one of the 340 invites, right? So it's not like that's just anyone's open, like it's an open tryout and then someone shows up at Ranger School, right? Then I love that God shows we are capable. He's given us tons Amen. Of gifts. And one of the things that I see is probably one of my most frustrating things with folks, and myself, I think sometimes too, is that we've been adorned with these gifts. And then I see people not develop them or restrict them and hold them back. Like, oh, and I see this a little bit sometimes with, let's say, like young ladies who have this beautiful voice. I go, I don't want to sing out in front of everybody. Like, oh, you've been given this gift and you don't want to share. Like, you don't want to use that. Like, hey, why do you think you were given that? Like, maybe there's a reason you need to share. And it's tough. And I think that people miss that a lot. I love the buddy. Right. I mean, I think that's so important, the Ranger buddy, but now you've got your life buddy with your wife. She's your Ranger buddy now. And I think being intentional, investing in that family. My wife and I are also coming up 27 years this summer, and a very similar family with 5 kids. And then the desire to make a difference. When people talk about that, that is a huge driver. And if people can really grasp, like you said, talk about like going where you feel like you have a passion for, where you can make that impact. I think that's gigantic. I mean, I think a lot of people probably miss the mindset, all combined, amazing. The preparation that it takes to be successful, so important. And then weathering these storms, weathering COVID, weathering what's next, weathering the challenge of distribution. I know the supply chain now is a major challenge in most companies, right?
Huge challenge.
Yep. So let's wrap with a couple things. The best way to win. Is there something that you want to share with listeners that maybe we didn't touch on yet? That, hey, this is like an absolute go-to. The best way to win is.
And I will tell you, and this has been a theme throughout, the best way to win is win together. And we want to win as a family. We want to have an incredible life journey as a family. And if I was 100% focused on building this iconic American brand and I left my family alone, that wouldn't be winning together. And it's the same way. If this journey here at Authentically American was all about me, it would be empty and ultimately it's going to fail. But the journey on what we're doing and making a difference, creating American jobs, building this iconic American brand, if we're talking again 5 years from now, Trent, it'll have nothing to do with me. It will have everything to do with the people that I've hired, the team that I've hired, and in turn who they've hired, and the team we're building. So winning together to me is what it's all about.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I don't think people always recognize, right? That it takes a lot of people. And I always point to, because I'm a former tennis player too. And when you look at like Djokovic, who's been a number one for so long, and how many people are behind him, like a nutritionist and a coach and like a strength coach and like a strategy person, like working on his strokes and just working on his rehabilitation. There's just so many people, financial and all the things that are going into it. And I think the same thing with a race car driver. Like, you have a team of 20 people in the garage, like making this the most fine-tuned vehicle. Like, hey, he's a great driver. There was 212 other cars in the race, like, and they all got the same garage that they're working on. Like, we all got to do this as a team, and it's so important. And I know that sometimes the player or the driver get a lot of the accolades, but I think winning is a team sport. I think business is a team sport. And so I love that. Let's finish. Share your social again, Dean. Where can they find you?
So authenticallyamerican.us is the best spot to go ahead and find about our brand, find about our products, find out how we not only serve individual consumers with our B2C business, like what you're wearing, Trent, but the biggest part of our businesses, charities, other organizations. So instead of buying a Nike polo with your company logo or a Land's End for your charity, you can reach out and have an amazing brand, amazing product that's all made here in the U.S. So authenticallyamerican.us or go to LinkedIn. You can connect with me and would be honored to do so.
That's awesome. All right. Please follow the show on Leadershipity YouTube channel. Rate us 5 stars. Share this episode as always. We would love to have you back. I am Trent M Clark. You can find me on all the social media networks at Trent M Clark or at Leadershipity. And looking forward to our upcoming ebook, The Pyramid of Leadershipity. You can ping me for that assessment on your leadership development and accountability for your leaders at trent@leadershipity.com. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Last thing. Oh, by the way, I gotta get my shirt wet. I'm not earning this, by the way, dang it. Like, I couldn't really come into the whole thing with a workout, Dean, and like come in just sweating it up. Like, it probably would have been appropriate, but I don't know if I would have stayed wet here the whole time. So
this is like kindergarten style show and tell. What happens when you work out?
That's right. When I bring it, this is how it looks, right? And I bring it daily. So let's talk about, you can see it, Beat Navy. Look at that.
I love that, Trent. And here's a funny thing tying in social, because I'm tagged in a picture almost every day. Our brand's tagged because not only have we done collegiate designs like West Point, but we've done hundreds of custom designs. And whatever you want printed from a logo, whatever you want that hidden inspirational message. And that's what's been so fun to see people have an incredible experience with our product.
Yes.
And then me being so focused on fitness as well, to see them getting after it. And what's fun, Trent, I've had people text me in a fun way, say, Dean, doggone it, I was on the treadmill and Beat Navy wasn't appearing, so what do I have to do? Go a little faster, go a little harder.
That's right. You got to put the work in, man. Like, you're going to win. You got to put the work in. That's right. I love it. So last thing, Dean, before I let you go, when you were in that spot, when you were facing it, when you're in Ranger School or you're just trying to make payroll this Friday, I mean, anything that's going on, the bank doesn't see the vision, whatever it is, right? You've been up against it a few times. Is there a go-to quote, verse, or something that levels you, kind of puts you back into, hey, this is the mode I need to be in. I need to get back to point?
For me, Trent, it's less about a quote, but where I take my inspiration from. My chairman of the board ties to my Christian faith, and I start every day off the same way. I'm on my knees in prayer. I'm in time of devotion and saying, well, ultimately, I'm not in control.
Yeah.
And I'm praying for God's wisdom and God's intervention, because I am flawed. I'm a sinner and I fall short. And I just ask for God's provision and guidance each and every day. And God's first and foremost, and I don't spend nearly as much time as I would like, but I'm very intentional. Every day starts that way in prayer, and every day ends that way before I go to bed.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking because you are really that disciplined guy, and you've kind of developed that over the years, I'm sure. Getting a focus in on playing Division I hockey, not easy. Doing these trials. I love thinking about us having this conversation. I was thinking about Hebrews 12:11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those that have been trained by it. And I am always that one is just a staple in my toolbox. And when I look at my failures, I can look at my lack of discipline, my lack of preparation around this. All those things kind of rear its head for me.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. And in a quote, I forget the exact quote, Trent, but the whole Ranger buddy ties in with iron sharpens iron. Yeah. And when men come together like that, when brothers and sisters come together, that's where the magic happens.
For sure. Proverbs right there. It's so good, Dean, to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Winners Find Your Way. Thank you to Dean Wagner of Authentically American. This is the gear right here. And if you want your custom shirt, you better get on authenticallyamerican.com or .us and check it out. Get your shirt made. My strength coach buddies are going to be blowing up my phone, by the way. So I'm super excited. I'll put them in touch with Dean Wegner and they'll get it done. And you're going to love this gear. I get lots of comments on when I'm at the gym working out my stuff. So thank you so much, Dean. Just a pleasure to have you here today.
Well, Trent, honored to be a guest, and I'm so thankful you and I are connected, and we'll be lifetime friends.
You bet. For everybody else, thank you for joining us on the Winners Find a Way every Friday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific on Leadershipity YouTube channel, live, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, and you can always listen to our podcasts on all the major networks of podcasting. Please come and visit, share it, like it, and come and see us next time. Can't wait.
Thank you.
Hate the crappy ingredients in many beverages and energy drinks? Rebellious Infusions are the go-to functional beverage. They have 5 or fewer plant-based organic ingredients, no sugar, no calories, loaded with antioxidants to boost your immune system, and L-theanine for brain health. Rebellious Infusions are available at drinkrebellious.com. Rethink your drink. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999. Do you want to be our next guest? Or do you have inspiring stories to share? Or do you love to inspire, support, and empower thought leaders? Feel free to send Trent a direct message on Instagram or Facebook at Leadershipity.